The study of sociology consists of understanding human relationships and the structures around it. This can range from family relations all the way to the way the government is structured. Everyone belongs in a group, regardless if it's a political party, generation, or a sports team. What's interesting about sociology is that it involves our everyday life and sheds perspective on the intricate web between humans, culture, society, and our relationships in them. We see them every day in conflict theory, social roles, and symbolic interactionism. Before taking the course, I did not know much about sociology, but as I learned more about myself and others around me. One attitude I didn't know I had was ethnocentrism, which is the judgment and evaluation of another culture based on basically your beliefs. It's basically thinking that your group is the standard, and if others don't measure up to that, they're seen as incorrect. For example, in America, we eat pork and beef. However, in Central Asia, they might eat insects and horses, which is frowned upon here. Neither one is essentially a bad choice. They're just different from each other. It's important to sometimes take a step back and try to view society from a individualistic look. Social imagination was established by the sociologist C.R. Wright Mill, and it's basically a framework for connecting personal challenges in one's life as well as other important issues in society. With the mindset, you can kind of explain how an individual's personal experiences and challenges can impact their view on society, which can be an eye-opening way of looking at everyday problems people can face, such as obesity, hunger, poverty, and homelessness. Growing up, I was overweight. There were a lot of other kids growing up as well that were overweight, but it wasn't seen as a societal issue until there were a lot of individuals as a collective experiencing the same problem. By examining this, you can see how it can influence one's behavior in society and culture as well. Social forces are human-created ways of doing things that can influence, pressure, force people to behave and interact with others in certain ways. They're considered to be impersonal because they have no hand in creating them, or they know who did. People can embrace them or challenge the social forces inflicted upon them. An example of it would be credit cards. It was an invention to encourage people to spend large amounts of money that they know they did not have, and it took special effort, discipline, and just overall just discipline to resist spending that money. The relationship between individuals and society is interconnected. In the words of C. Wright Mills, neither the life of an individual nor the history of a society can be understood without understanding both. So society literally does not exist independently without people. Humans are social beings. We need each other. We rely on each other. It's what makes us human. The relationship between the two can be looked at from three angles: functionalists, interactionism, and culture and personality. Functionalists have a viewpoint of an individual being shaped through the influence of family, school, and the workplace. Basically, how does society affect this individual? Interactionist view is how society is constructed. Max Weber, who believed in this view, believes society is formed with the interaction of people, which is known as symbolic interactionism. The culture and personality view is studied by examining how the individual and society affect each other and react. It's basically saying that society, culture, affects the personality of an individual, and this individual's personality helps form society's culture, which is seen as a continuous cycle. The study of sociology can be conducted at macro and micro levels. Micro can be seen as the most common since it involves direct interaction with people. With micro, a person's facial expressions, mannerisms, body language, and gestures can all show you how a person is feeling indirectly. So the dynamic between a person's self-presentation and how you perceived by others kind of steers the course of social interactions between them. An example of an experience I personally have is my facial expressions towards people. Often I have been told I have a very straightforward, deadpan facial expressions as I move around and do things, which I've been told that can make me seem unapproachable and uninterested when it's the complete opposite. Oftentimes I don't realize how my outer appearance can be perceived by others. I'm just kind of moving about my day. Macro sociology is more focused on a large-scale social interaction, such as the dynamics of institutions, classes, or societies. It's a collection of interactions between certain individuals at one time. But if these individuals were only focused on specifically, their own properties would be missed. Agents of socialization are defined as the influence of key factors in a person's development and their ability to play a role in society. Now, these agents can be family, schools, daycares, peers, and even media. Families can pass on things to their kids, such as cultural knowledge, values, religious practices, as well as worldly views. For example, growing up with a father in the military, there were certain things I was taught as a child I still carry today. Give a firm handshake, look people in the eye, respect others, especially elders. So my parents were also very religious growing up. So every Sunday we would go to church, sit in service. So growing up, Christianity was the basically only religion in my head I thought was okay, in a sense, until I actually experienced the world and, saw different viewpoints. Sociology allows us to be able to understand why groups of people act certain ways. It also shows us the culture, heritage, and overall background that makes them them. An example of social theory is a study done by Robert Putnam on the decline of civic engagement by individuals. Now, civic engagement is community orgs, clubs, and religious participation. Putnam found that the decline was due to an increased TV usage by those individuals. We're in an age where everything can be streamed at your fingertips. Putnam was able to propose there was a relationship between these two elements, TV viewing and civic life. If there was no theory and research done, there would have been no way to connect the dots between these two concepts. I think that symbolic interactionism can be used to understand the relationship between individuals and society. The founder of this theory, George Herbert Mead, defines it as a sociological concept that seeks to understand a human relationship within society by focusing on the exact symbols that make their life and experiences meaningful. It's basically a micro-level theory within society. For example, if you think of America, the symbols that come into your mind are a symbol of freedom and pride. If you were to ask someone else with a different society, they might see it as oppressive and harmful. This interaction is just based on the society that you live in. Now, quantitative research is done by using numbers and graphs. It can be used to test and confirm theories and assumptions and establish a generalizable fact about a certain topic. These methods include experiments, observations, and surveys. Now, qualitative research, on the other hand, is expressed in words. So it's used to understand concepts, thoughts, and experiences. By doing this type of research, you can collect in-depth insights on different topics. I personally think that qualitative would be the best option to understand the relationship between individual and society. It's collected by ethnography, which is participating in a certain community or organization to kind of observe the culture and behavior in environment, which I personally believe is one of the best ways to see an individual and their groups in society. Because without examining those individuals, you cannot look at a society as a whole, since they are interconnected.